Times said that the quilts of Gee's Bend are some of the most miraculous works of modern art America has produced. The quilters of Gee's Bend, a small town in rural Alabama, are internationally known as culture bearers of a tradition that dates back to slavery and before. Because of the quilters' organizing and work, the stories of Black history and the power of collective, intergenerational collaboration have spread far beyond the town limits. Their quilts, works of supreme and sublime craftsmanship, design, utility, and art, are artifacts that stand witness to generations of challenge and triumph. And now for our introduction here, we have Miss Mary Ann Petway. Miss Mary Ann Petway was born and raised in Gee's Bend, Alabama, daughter of Lily Mae Petway and Paul T. Petway. Her mother, Lily Mae, was also a quilt maker and taught Mary Ann the art of quilting when she was young. As the seventh of 12 children, Mary Ann recalls the first quilt her mother taught her how to make as the 9-patched quilt, which was when she was 6 or 7 years old. Then when Mary Ann was in her early teens, her mother took to teaching her quilt making. As an adult, she began quilting in earnest in 2005, and in 2006 was named general manager of the Gee's Bend Quilting Collective, a position she holds today. Mary Ann graduated from Pine Hill High School in Pine Hill, Alabama in 1975. She has worked in bookkeeping and accounting in addition to quilting over the years. She is a member of Pleasant Grove Missionary Baptist Church in Gee's Bend, where Pastor Pettis L. Lockett has presided over 30 years. Mary Ann has one daughter, Tabitha, who has 4 sons, ages 5, 14, 15, and 20, and 2 of her grandsons are traveling with her this week, Deshaun and Alexander. There you are. Hey. And both are quilting, and their quilts are on display here this week. So one more round of applause for Miss Mary Ann Petway. Thank you so much for being here. All right, we move over. Let's welcome Miss China Petway. Please give her a round of applause. Miss China Petway was born in Gee's Bend, Boykin, Alabama, January 4th, 1952. Of her 10 siblings, 4 sisters and 3 brothers are living. They are the children of Miss Leola Petway and Willie Petway. Miss China is married with 2 children, a son and a daughter, and a grandson of 7 months. Miss China graduated from Boykin High School and attended Selma University and Miles College in Birmingham, where she acquired a business degree. Miss China Petway began quilting when she was 9 years old, taught by her mother. Her first quilt was a star quilt. The family did not have materials for quilting and used the best part of worn clothing for pieces. Cotton scraps from the local gin house were swept up, beat, and cleaned, and made into balls for batting and thread. She recalls quilts being used to keep wind out of the house, to sleep on and under. Quilts were part of everyday life. It was not until 1999 that Ms. China was introduced to the quilters as art and the historic contributions of the quilt team. She joined the quilting collective in order to travel and share the works of art and the significance of the quilt making history with others. Another round of applause for both of these lovely women. We're so glad you're here, and so blessed that you are here. It's such a great opportunity. One of the things we share with our students is the video every year of the Quilters of Gee's Bend that I was mentioning to you, Miss Marianne, early. And part of it, it's such a community experience, and I was wondering, when you quilt now, for both of you, is it still a community experience where family and community are part of the quilting experience? Or is it something else? We can share the mic.
Right now, it's not like we all sit around and cook like we used to. At the collective where I work at, majority of the time I'm there by myself because that's my job, being the manager there. And China, she will come up and work on her quilt sometime too. But anyway, we have done some quilts together. We did one for the President Obama when he came president in 2008. We did that as a group. And we did one, we also made a quilt for Hades. I think that it was the same year or year before that. And most of the ladies, when they make their quilts, they do them at home. And once they finish, then they bring them to me to document or, put a price on it if they don't have a price on it already. And give it a name. Because any of my quilts that I make, I give all of them a name. A lot of times when I'm working on it, I don't know what I'm going to name it at the time. And when I finish making the top, I will either stand in the mirror and look at it, then that's when I get a name for it, the majority of the time. It's just not like naming your children. You have a baby, you always give it a name, give them a name. But when I first started quilting, and Mr. Greg was saying in the introduction, that I made my first piece when I was like 6 or 7 years old, and it was a 9-patch. And that was the first block that my mama taught me how to make. She was always sewing on the sewing machine, but no electricity. It was the sewing machine that we had that you felt by your foot. And she would always, throw some strap on the floor, and I was sitting down on the floor by her, and I would pick it up. And she saw me interested in it, and then she said, let me show you how to make a 9-patch. That was the first one that she showed me how to make, using the basic straight running stitch. And once I learned how to make that, and once we got between the age of 10 and 15 years old, that's when she taught us how to quilt. And so, don't get me wrong, no, I didn't want to learn how to do none of it. And I thank God that she did, made me did it. Because if she hadn't done made me done it, I might not be here today. And I can't thank, I can't thank her enough, and thank God that she was able to teach me what she taught me. See, Mama didn't go to high school, go as far as in high school as I did. I remember her telling me, she dead and gone now, she passed away back in 1990. She told me, when we used to sit down and talk with each other, she said when the first grade she went in school was the 6th grade. And by her going that far in school, she taught me more stuff than the teacher at school could teach me. Because when we first started learning how to write our alphabets or learn our alphabets, she would get, when the coals that burnt wood with in the fireplace, she would get a piece of that coal out that fireplace and a paper box or a paper bag and write the alphabets on it. And that's how we learned how to, write our alphabet. Because see, we didn't have no pencil, paper to write on back then. In the video where Mr. Arnett talking about our county is the Forest County, we'll call it the Forest County, and Gee's Bend is the Forest community. In my opinion, I said he was wrong because we were one of the rich communities. We may not have the money that some places had, But in the rich way we had our own land, our own houses, you know, cows, hogs. We had practically everything we needed to live off of. And see now when people, you know, the food that we're eating now, we don't know what's going in this food. But what we was raising on our farm, we knew what we were feeding our chicken. We knew what we were feeding our hogs and cows and all that kind of stuff. And see, our house was not as good was insulated as they are now. And so that's when they had to make quilts for us to lay on, because we didn't have no beds to sleep in. So they had to make quilts to put on the floor, and then they had to make quilts for us to lay on top of. I remember back, you know, after we got started getting to bed, we didn't get no box spring mattress like we have now. I remember mom making this big old, almost like a pillowcase, but we call it a tea. See, I don't know what other name you would call it, but that's what I come up on, a tea. It was just like a big old pillowcase with a split in the center of it, and we were sleeping on husks. You know the shuck that come off of corn. We was when they get dry, she would put it inside that tea. Right now we call it a mattress. And she was that's how we making our beds up. And then we got to the point where later on she stopped using those shucks. Then we started using the cotton. You know, when they gin cotton, they have leftover cotton, they would give it to them, and they would we would use that and put it inside our mattress and make our beds up. And then a few years later, then we started getting a box spring and a mattress. Oh, we were just like Christmas time when Santa Claus brings us something, you know, to eat, and apples and oranges in the can or whatever. When we get a mattress to lay on, and it was just so wonderful to be able to get that. Nowadays, I tell the children, appreciate what you're getting. When you appreciate the little thing that you got, God will bless you with more. So you have to appreciate what you have, what you got, and you go a long way with it. You know, we love to sing. We sang at church, and how we started singing was our parents were taking us to church. Don't get me wrong, I didn't want to go to church either. But I thank God that she made me went, and now nobody has to make me go to church. It's my choice. If I decide to get up and go to church, we have Sunday school at our church, and I love to go to Sunday school because you can learn more from Sunday school also, and then, you know, the service go on. And see, nowadays we need more children in the church because our pastor was telling us that, you know, you train the children up in the church so they can have other children to run the church when we don't pass out. So you got to train somebody, just kind of like what we're doing now, like I'm training my grandson, you know, to make quilts. And I started with Alvin and Deshawn when they was 7 years old. But after Deshawn started at an early age, when I went on my first trip in Auburn, Alabama to the Quilt Museum, the June Collin Museum in Auburn, Alabama. Deshawn was about 3 years old, and he was going to the museum and lay on the floor and get these blocks and put them together, matched up colors. All red, and then he come to Mom, look what I made. And so when I went to Texas, and I saw these blocks with those colors, and I bought it from him. And that's how he been designing stuff, and now he designed his own quilts now. Some of his quilts is on display. Y'all see one of his blocks on display over there. And he actually, the block that's in that quilt look like a one piece of fabric, but it's not. He actually put those little pieces together. And he watched me. I asked him, how did you do this? And he said, Mom, I saw you doing. See, I love to do real small pieces myself. And it's like it's unique from other quilts, but everybody have a way of doing their own. And so some people say, oh, I want to be like that. Don't try to be like me. I think you can try to do some of the things that I do, but just be yourself. You be yourself. You don't have to worry about trying to, don't try to make nobody else happy. Just as long as you feel happy yourself, just treat people like you want to be treated.
Amen.
And don't do anything to them because you don't want them to treat you any kind of way. I thank y'all. I love to talk.
Let's go once. Amen. We're going to carry it on out. And thank you all It's a blessing, to be here. And it's a great privilege, just to come before you all and to tell you all how we came up. But y'all, I can look at some of you all, I can tell all of y'all blessed. We all blessed this morning. God woke all of us up. We all are blessed because we woke up. Someone went to bed last night. They didn't even wake up. Some woke up, but they couldn't get up. But we got a blessing. Yes. Growing up in G's Bend, it was tight. And we was poor. Because my mother, she raised 10 children on her own. Sometimes, we went to bed hungry, got up hungry. And a lot of, morning we got up, we had to go in the wood and find something off those bushes or trees to eat, like blackberry, huckleberry, hackleberry, red hawk, whatever we find. It was breakfast. But I can see now how God done brought us over. I thank God. When we was coming up, I didn't know what a Fabby store was. If there was a Fabby, though, a store, we didn't have the money to push it in Fabby with. So when our clothes worn out, our mother took that best part, that skirt, that dress, that shirt, those pants, and made quilts out. And I made my first quilt when I was 9 years old. And it was made from old clothes. And it was a star quilt. I brought that quilt up. We used to play in the yard on the quilts. We used to get a old broom, old stick out the wood, and tie a piece of that old quilt on and mop the floor with. And then a lot of times we got those ashes at that fireplace and put on that porch or whatever. We used to mop the floor. Those ashes had no floor. They was clean. So we didn't have no proper stuff to use for soap. And I thank God. In the latter part of 1999, when the Arnett came from Atlanta, they discovered that we was doing art. I didn't know nothing about art. Because when I was going to school, they didn't tell us nothing about art. But when the Arnett came down from Atlanta, they had saw that Miss Anime Young quilt was draped around a pile of wood. And he said, I got to find that lady. Sure enough, he came down there to read Hope, and he found her. And when he got there, Miss Anime Young called Miss Alonzo Petway and told her about a crazy man was up there, buying quilts, paying good money for them old ugly quilts. So Miss Alonzo called my mother, and my mother called me. And when they got there, they went to Alonzo's house, went to my mother's house, and they came back to my house. When he got there, I was trying to look for the pretty quilt, though. I always look things pretty. But he ain't one day. He said, there ain't no art. And he went up on my sofa, and he got that old quilt. He said, this is art. And I said, that art? And then, to tell you the truth, when we went to Houston, Texas, that quilt that he took for me, and I walked in that museum, and I looked on that wall, and I said, wow, they had cleaned that quilt up. But he paid me good money for that quilt, and I thanked him. When I was going to school, a lot of time, I went to school bare feet, didn't have no shoes, didn't have proper clothes to wear. But sometimes I used to steal out the back door. Our house would be on the highway when the children would come out there to catch the bus. They said, here come the bus. And I'd steal at the back door, bare feet. It was cold, and I went to school. I was trying to keep up with my classmates. I didn't want to be left behind. But the teacher still didn't let me pass. Thank you, Jesus. But my 5th grade teacher told me, she said, China, when the opportunity is you scratch it. And I've been trying to scratch that opportunity ever since. And I can really say to you all, I can see y'all are blessed. I see y'all got proper clothes to wear. Don't take advantage of nothing. And another thing I can tell you all, obey your mother, obey your father, obey your elder, and the Lord will bless you. And I'm so glad to be here, to come before you all, to tell you all, I love you all. I won't say it if I didn't mean it. But my heart, I love all of you all. And I would like to thank you, Mr. So let us coming here, taking up your time, seeing all these beautiful faces. You all are so beautiful. And y'all see those machines that y'all sitting to? Y'all, that's a gold mine. Y'all say that's a gold mine. Take that opportunity, use it. And don't abuse it, use it. And God knows you'll be blessed. Thank you.
Also, at time we'll talk about these sewing machine and Judy's. This is one of my favorite sewing machines I used to work on. I used to work in a sewing factory myself. I worked there for over 20 years. And the first sewing machine they put me on was a Juke, and it was a double needle machine. I had never worked in a sewing factory before. When I first worked there, my aunt, she was the one that had called me and asked me did I want a job, and I told her yes. And so my daughter, she was about 2 years old at the time, and thank God my mother was living at the time. She was keeping her, while I go to work. And the first day, she told me, in the sewing factory, they had bundles like 25 and 50 pieces in a bundle. And you had our production that day was supposed to be 8 bundles a day. The first day I worked, I did 4 bundles. Half of my production, the first day I worked in that sewing factory. And I was able to work until I got up doing my production. And, the bundle, it's not that you're making the whole garment. I don't have to tell y'all that do it already. You don't have to make the whole garment. Just one operation on that garment that you do every day, the same operation all day long. And you have to think about the other person, because when you finish your part, then the next person get it and go on with it. Like I was telling you, see your name, Derek. I was saying Greg, I'm sorry. Derek, Derek, I was telling him about the jeans that he have on. I can make those jeans because I have worked on every sewing machine that do the operation on the jean. It'll have probably about 10, 20, 30 operation on that jean. Every one of those sewing machines, I have had experience to work on putting on button, making zipper. I mean, whatever on that pair of jeans, I have done it. And I got to the point I was promoted. I even became supervisor in 1995, over 25 different operators. And I instead of operated 25 different attitudes. That's what I had to deal with. And I thank God that the ladies that I was on my line, I had some good operators. And see, when we, the whole line do the production for the day, see, we'll get a bonus. They'll give the supervisor, a raise. And so when I got my raise, I shared with my line. And sometimes what I would do, I love to make cake. I'll make a pound cake, I said, y'all got a pound cake today. And some of the other ladies coming off their line, coming to eat some of the pound cake. And so, but we have enough to share with each other. And so one of my operators told me, she said, man, you know what? She said, when you got up on the floor, you don't act like a supervisor. And I told her, I said, Jack, well, why should I act different? Because I knew where I had came from. I was sent to the sewing machine many years. And I said, one day I'm going to get back on that sewing machine. Sure enough did my supervisor job that I had ran out because they had put me over a line to do these different Levi's, making Levi pants for children. And once that contract ran out, I ended back up on the sewing machine. And I was sewing operation on this back. My operation on the back of it was back of the pair of jeans. I was working with a sewing machine with 4 needles. 4 needles. And all I had to do all day long was put that elastic in the back of them jeans and just go over, just have a ball with it. And I always got my, my production on that operation. And I remember when I was even supervising at that time, the lady that was doing the job that I was working on, those 4 needles on that sewing machine, she was out. So they came and got me off my line to work on that, because see, they knew I did the operation. So I had to sew on that sewing machine all day long. So that's why when you get up, some people get up, make it better for themselves, but sometimes they put others down. I don't like to put nobody down because I don't want nobody to put me down. I always try to treat people the way I want to be treated. And see, that's why I don't treat people any kind of way. I love people, and it's not just my words. I show my love. I don't just tell people I love. My brother always say, mouth will say anything. That pink tornado will destroy anybody. That's your tongue. You talk about people, you say anything, you can hurt people's feelings. Sometimes you can say something, you can hurt their feelings, you don't even know it. But sometimes if you really pay them attention, you can tell by the way their body language. We need to just love each other and treat people right. And nowadays, we were talking the other day about your voices. See, we are not using our voices like we need to. About, all these cell phones, telephone, texting and stuff. It's good to be incumbent to be able to feel somebody every now and then. You can't feel nobody through the phone. I know you can talk and you can see them through the phone, but it's good to have contact with people sometimes. It's not good to be alone all the time. Don't get me wrong, because I love being by myself a lot. When I was coming up, I always being by myself. I had a baby sister, she and I used to spend time together a lot. See, it's only 5 of us, 5 girls live and 3 boys. And my older sister, when she graduated from high school in, I think in 65, I believe, she left and went on, moved to New York. And I had 2 more other sisters, older than I am, and my baby sister was under me. And so she and I, we spent time together. She and I were like 2 years apart. Most all mama's children that she had was like 2 years apart. And we grew up close together. We worked in the field, we helped other people, in their field, do their crop. We had corn. Just like I said earlier, whatever we needed, we almost had it right there, this resource. Like I said, we didn't have much money, but we had a little bit, enough. I asked my mom, I said, Mom, do you want me to go to college? She said, you don't have to go to college. All I want you to do is finish high school. And thank God she was able to work enough to put me through high school. My dad, he became mentally ill. He was a hard worker, but he became mentally ill when we were real young. But he was there, and that put all the work on my mother. She had to, take care of all of us, teach us things that we need to be taught. She taught the girls how to cook. She taught the boys how to, work in the yard or work in the field. Now, Papa was able to do some of it when he was still in his right mind. Sometimes, he had to take medicine stuff, and when people are, be mentally ill, sometimes they don't take their medicine like they should, and they just do stuff that, that's uncontrollable. And I thank God that, Mama had ended up putting him in a mental hospital for a while. Then when he, stayed there for a while, then we go back and pick him up and bring him back home. But he still would go and take some stuff and do it again and end back up in the mental hospital. But I thank God he died at an early age himself. He died in 1982. My dad was about 56 years old. And God blessed us to be there as a family with each other. I thank God I have close relationship with all of my sisters and my brothers. I lost my older sister with breast cancer back in 2006, and in 2012 I lost my baby brother with kidney disease. And thank God my other sister and brother, we were still there. In GSB, and I still have, my older brother still live there. My other sister that 2 years older than I am. And my baby sister in Mobile, Alabama. And my other 2 next older brother and sister, they're living in New York right now. My older sister that lives in New York now, she suffered Alzheimer's, and God bless her heart. she can't do anything for herself. Somebody have to wait on her all the time. And I do thank God that, like I said, He allowed me to have a relationship with my sister and brother that I have. And I just love to do what I do. Sewing now is my passion. Singing is my passion. Like I was telling them yesterday when we did reception at the Capitol. Yesterday, when they asked us to sing, I said, now y'all know when we start singing, act like we don't know how to stop. But you get in that mood, that energy, that spirit, God done blessed us with the mood to sing. Sometimes we'll sing until we get hoarse. It's like, it kind of reminds me of the time when Senator McCain came down to visit GB, and he was going around looking through, because he bought some quilts. He spent over, I think, $12,000 when he bought those quilts, like 3 quilts. And everybody was asking us on the ferry, oh, what you think he gonna do with those quilts? I said, I don't care what he do with them. He'll get one I asked for. So we was on the ferry, before we got on the ferry, actually, he asked some of us to ride on his bus with him. So we got on the bus and rode with him down, to the ferry, and singing and everything. And they took a photograph of us standing on the ferry boat with him, and he was able to sign that photograph. And he said, he just always told us, he said, I would just love to hear y'all sing. I could hear y'all sing all day long. And I told us, you know what? Spending money like that, I'll sing until I get home. And they would ask, oh, who you gonna vote for? Guess what? I won't lie to them or tell them the truth. This is what I say. Oh, I'm undecided. So see, I didn't lie, I didn't tell the truth either. Because they know we were Democrat in the beginning. And so I was undecided at the time. And I thank God that He allowed us to be able to spend time together like we do. China and I is the most flexible one that do the travel. Because a lot of the ladies they done passed on now. And the ones that live there in G's Bend, some of them are like in their late 80s. Like my aunt Maybe Bendall. She was the one that was mostly going out representing the G's Bend quilters. And she suffered a stroke back in 2009. And she have gotten a chance to go off on one trip since then. I think she done went on several, but one of her children had to accomplish her when she go. It didn't, she didn't get paralysis or anything. It just affected her mind and her memory. And thank God now she's a little better, remember better, but her health is going down. She'll be turning 88 years old this year in August, if I'm not mistaken. She was born 1935. You do the math. We thank y'all so much for allowing us to come to your school and speak and y'all listen to us, talk about where we come from. I told you, some people don't want to talk about where they come from. I love telling people where I come from because, see, anytime you see me crying, those are not sad tears. Those are tears of joy. I think about where God has brought us from, and look where He's still taking us. We are able to travel so many places all over the world and have people still wanting us to come and do these presentations, to talk to people, young people. And we just want, like China was saying, just be obedient to your elders, your teachers, your parents, or whoever that's over you. Well, that person is younger than you are, if they're in position to be over you, just be obedient and listen. Because being obedient and listening will get you a long, long way. Thank you.
Well, I'm not going to talk no more, y'all. How it was a paragraph of my life. I know Mary Ann was going to tell it all. That we all, we're in one community. And I thank you all for coming out. And may God bless the richly be with you all.
Y'all have any questions? Y'all would like to hear sing a little bit?
Singing. Yeah.
Singing? How many songs? I told you we started singing that.
We love that. We would love that.
Okay, well, we're going to do some of the songs we've been singing anyway.
Okay.
This one, I'm standing up on this one. This one, I don't want nobody to praise on me when I'm gone. Give me my flower while I yet live. I don't want nobody to pray me when I'm gone. I don't want nobody to pray me when I'm gone. Lord, I don't want nobody to pray me when I'm gone. Oh, give me my flower whilst I yet live, whilst I yet live. The flowers
Want
that you
nobody
give
to pray me when I'm gone. Lord,
the flowers
want
that you
nobody
give
to pray me when I'm gone. Well,
the
I
flowers
want
that you
nobody
give
to pray me when I'm gone.
Oh,
Give me my flower whilst I yet live, whilst I yet live.
Lord,
I don't want nobody
to
pray me when I'm gone. I don't want nobody to pray me when I'm gone. Well, I don't want nobody
to
pray me when I'm gone.
Oh,
Give me my flower whilst I yet live, whilst I yet live.
the
I
flowers
don't want
that you
nobody
give
to pray me when I'm gone. Lord, I don't want nobody to pray me when I'm gone. Well, I don't want nobody pray me when I'm gone. Give me my flower whilst I yet live, whilst I yet live.
Lord,
I don't want nobody
to
pray me when I'm gone. I don't want nobody to pray me when I'm gone. Well, I don't want nobody
to
pray me when I'm gone. Give me my flower whilst I yet live, whilst I yet live. I don't want nobody to pray me when I'm gone. Give me my flower whilst I yet live. And when I'm gone, I'm going to be with Jesus. Woo! Hallelujah. Swing low, sweet chariot, oh,
coming to carry me home.
swing low, oh Lord, sweet old chariot, oh, coming
to carry me home.
swing low, sweet old chariot, oh, coming
to carry me home.
sweet Lord, oh Lord, sweet old chariot, oh,
coming to carry me home.
I looked over turning and what did I see? Oh,
Coming to carry me home.
a band of angel devils are coming after me. Oh,
Coming to carry me home.
swing low,
Lord,
sweet old chariot, on the battlefield. I'm bringing soul to Jesus by the service that I give.
When you see me crying,
I'm on the battlefield. Say, when you see me cry, God know I'm on the battlefield. I'll say, when you see me crying, I'm on the battlefield. I'm bringing soul to Jesus by the service that I give.
oh, I'm a hard
Working soldier,
I'm
on the battlefield. Say I'm a hard working soldier. God know I'm on the battlefield. I say I'm a hard working soldier, and I'm on the battlefield. I'm bringing soul to Jesus by the service that I give.
How much more time we have?
When you design a quilt, is there somebody in charge of putting the design together from a lot of people's ideas? Or is it everybody's doing an individual thing?
Everybody doing the individual thing.
You design that quilt, you design what you want to make, your own, design. Because, it's all right to work with, I like working with other people, but when I'm doing my own quilt, I just want to do it my way.
But we have done some quilts together. Everybody make a different block, and then someone else will put it together like my aunt did when we did the President Obama quilt. It was like, I think about 16 or 18 of us made block. I made 3 blocks on it myself. China made 2, I believe, and several other people made 1 or 2 blocks. And my aunt Mary Bendall was the one who put that quilt together. Any more questions?
How long, before we get to more questions from the students, how long for a quilt to be, how long would it take to make a large quilt like that? With just one person on it?
Well, for me, myself, this, like full-size quilt right here, but I made a queen size for a friend of mine in 2021. She asked me to make that quilt for her, because she had told me we was going to California, and she said it was a quilt that she saw on the stamp. She loved that quilt. And I was saying, when I get back home, I'm going to make you that quilt. So at the time, see, I'm in that bed. At the time, I was getting my teeth pulled. And she said, well, once you finish getting your tooth pulled and you find out what your denture going to cost, I will pay for your denture you make the quilt. Guess what? I got my teeth first, but it took her 2 years to get her quilt. But she got that quilt. When I sat down and made my mind up to make that quilt, I chose to get on that quilt and not work on anything else. From cut to finish. January 1st of 2021, when I finished cutting that quilt, and I actually didn't cut my thumb finger, that kind of slowed me down a little bit. From January 1st to February the 5th, I was shipping that quilt out to Washington. And I still don't believe I've done it less than 6 weeks. So my sister Julia, she made this quilt here, and it took her a while to make it because she had just, she was in the quilt collecting before I started, but she was working at the bank in Camden. But since she retired, she decided she'd start back and making quilts again. And I believe it took her about, it would take about 2 months at the most, because she was working off and on it herself. So it all depends on what size you're making. Because a lot of quilts I work on, I don't time myself on it, but because now at the collect I have like 10 different quilts going. So I work on this one day, work on that one, and I get to a point like when people come to visit me at the collected, they will ask about our work. And so when I tell them we have a room, it's like we're sewing and putting on one side, then on the other side for the quilt that we can sell them from. I said, oh, go in there and look and take the time. I'm still working on a quilt. Or if I'm sitting there, piecing one together, then they'll come back and say, maybe I don't see any of your work on display. I said, well, not to be bragging or anything, my work sells fast and I can't get on the table fast enough. So sometimes I have to stop and do smaller blocks. Because I had made a 9-patch, but I had two somebody wanted to buy that yesterday. So and I said, well, when I get back home, I have to make another one and ship it back to California. That's how my work sells. And I can't thank the Lord enough. That's what I make them for to sell.
That's right.
So when I joined these ladies, I did not join them to be no manager. Because I don't too much want to be in a leadership, but somehow or another I always end up being in leadership. So it's something that I'm doing to get in the leadership. And at one time, I had thought about it. I said, when I was doing it, I said, you know what? When I got started being the manager of the collective, it was getting so busy and everything. It's like everything was on my shoulder at one time. It's like they took me out the frying pan, throw me in the fire, and left me. And so and I want my life back. I want my life back. Ooh, Lord, I was so wrong. And I thought about that, and I said, what life? I be around here crying and don't have no money to pay my bills. I want that back. And I looked at, oh Lord, forgive me. Thank you.
Right.
So once I made my mind up to thank the Lord that He had blessed me with a job, now I can pay my bills. So far, the Lord has blessed me to finish paying for my house. I got built back in 1980. That house is paid for in full. I had bought a car in 2007. It is paid for. I bought a van in 2013, I believe. It's paid for through these quilts. So, people, anything you want to do, you put your mind, your soul, your heart, and mind into it, and put God first, you can do almost anything.
I guess you'll let me entertain from my house. I look like that. If it'll take me 1 week to put that quilt together, because it'll take me 1 week because I sit up all night that night, until I get it the way I want it to go. It'll take me all night to make, 1 week to do a panel, that side.
Thank you for coming. You're an inspiration. One, I want to say about that money. When I was like 14, no, I take that back, 16, my mom worked with a lady that wanted a quilt that she used to make. And she was selling a car. She said, if you make that quilt, I'll give you a car. And that was my first car. But my question was, I noticed your quilts are not thick, so you don't put a batten in the middle, you put a front and a back?
Yes, ma'am. We have polyester batten, and some of them have cotton batten inside of them. When we were growing up, we were getting the cotton from the gin house and putting it inside the quilt. That's when they were kind of thicker at that time. And when Mama and them was putting it together, they would make these real tiny rolls. And I was told because of that, they were sewing it so the cotton won't get in knots when it get washed. But anyway, and they also used old clothing inside the quilt because they didn't have no bed or cotton inside of it.
And they also use the old blanket too.
The old what?
Blanket. Pick a blanket and put it between that for the bed.
Old blanket. Where do you start? Like, do you lay out all your pieces and then make your patterns first, or do how do you go about it?
There's a little piece I created the other day when we was at the Martin Luther King Center. See now, this piece here in the front, I had already sewed that by a sewing machine at home, because I don't throw in my scrap, and the rest of it I stitch together by hand. See, I just pick up pieces and just start putting them together. And you just start from a little piece and then continue on building out. Sometimes I'll make a block and put it to the side and start on another piece until I get it so big. Then I will take it and join it together and just keep building the piece I want to go. That's all.
Based on like your pattern, based on your pattern, like then some of them are like so similar. Do you like how do you remember to keep the pattern kind of going? Do you have a like way that you like keep it separate and not?
See, I believe when my sister put this foot together, she was sewing blocks by blocks. And then when she got to the point where she wanted to finish the quilt, can I go over here now? Sure. Okay, when my sister putting it together, see, she'll do this block, that block, you know, and then she attached all these together. Then she would get this and sew it to this block here. Then she do the same thing. She probably, I believe what she did, she pieced all these blocks together. Then when she got to the point, she said, I think this is going to be my quilt. Then she started joining the block together, different rows. Then she would get this strip and sew and join the quilt as she go. That's how she ended up making this whole quilt. See, this is the Sean quilt.
For this quilt, I started sketching my quilts out because when I sit down at the sewing machine, I would get jumbled in my thoughts. And if a quilt that would usually take 2 hours would take like 5, because I would sit there so long to come up with an idea. So I started sketching this quilt out. And it took me like 10 minutes to sketch it out. I sat down, picked out some fabric. I always use black and white and 2 other colors in my quilt, because I like how colors, how they look and they always match. It's easier for me. And in the middle, between these 2 triangles, I have made smaller pieces and put them all together and attached them. They're not all one piece. For the triangles on the side, I had to do blocks individually, and like on my auntie quilt, I had to all sew those together individually as well and attach it to this whole white piece.
You want to feel?
Yes, for that. Yes, for that. I had to, after I did the patterns, I would get some black fabric and attach it to the patterns and attach the white onto the black.
Hello. So I invested in a Sonic, and you said you work with a lot of different machines. What do you say to the beginner? What's a good machine to start with? And as far as it, because I don't even want to take it out of the box, it looks real complex. But if there was another one that I could have picked, is there anyone that you could recommend? And what do you say to those who feel that sewing is really complicated and just want to give up and not really do it, but they have dreams and to make it their own fashion?
I advise, if you don't have the patience, don't start it. Now, if you got the patience and you want to do it, you can do it. I would suggest just get your single needle. It could be a single machine, it could be a brother. Long as it's a single machine. But one of these industrial sewing machines, these are some fast sewing machines. So they did zoom. But a single home machine, you can buy one out of Walmart or wherever you find these sewing machines. See, they don't go as fast as these sewing machines. Now I know in 2007, we had this sewing machine factory, donated about 20-something sewing machines to all of us. And the one that I have is a FAF, that PFAFF, a FAF sewing machine. And I sew on a Benina at the collective, but my FAF, I leave that at home. To me, the FAF is the best. I like sewing on it better than I do Benina, but I mostly use Benina at the collective, so I won't have to take a sewing machine back and forth. But my advice to you is just get you a single needle sewing machine. Now, all sewing machines that you buy, it can have different kind of design, like zigzag, buttonholes and different stuff like that. See, that can automatically be the sewing machine. But if you want to make a garment to make buttonholes or attach a button or something like that, it have your instruction with your sewing machine. You follow the instruction, you can learn how to work that sewing machine. To answer your question?
And I like to say, you maybe want to start that first with your hands, stitching up, put it together with your hands. That is good.
we are at that time. We are so happy that you're here. Thank you so much for everything you have brought to us, the joy, the information, and just the music, the song. Our hearts are moved. Thank you so much for being here.